The Trump administration has committed $6 billion in funding to fight the opioid epidemic. And President Trump has declared the crisis a public health emergency. But data suggests fentanyl-related deaths are still on the rise. A new investigative report conducted by the Washington Post found that 10 places in the United States with the highest number of fatal overdoses caused by the synthetic opioid. 5 counties in Ohio, 2 in West Virginia, 1 in Kentucky, and 2 major cities, Baltimore and St. Louis. But in Cabell County, West Virginia, it ranks #1 for the highest number of fatal fentanyl overdoses in the nation, a place the Post says has very long waiting lists for treatment. Listen to these numbers. In 2017, the year President Trump took office, a record 28,869 people died from synthetic opioids. That number is up 46.4% from 2016. And in the first 8 months of 2018, the most recent estimates show 20,567 Americans died. That death toll is now on track to exceed the previous year. Most of those deaths were indeed from fentanyl, a drug that is 50 times more powerful than heroin. Fentanyl has claimed the lives of more than 67,000 people. That is more than the number of U.S. service members killed during Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan wars combined. Can you say that one more time? Because I just don't think people understand
how big these numbers are. Joining us now is one of the Washington Post reporters behind this investigation, Sari Horwitz. Sari, tell us, first of all, what the Trump administration has been doing to fight the opioid epidemic.
Well, when President Trump came into office, as you all just said, he inherited the deadliest drug epidemic in American history. Tens of thousands of people were dying from the synthetic opioid that was being shipped into the United States via the mail from China and over the U.S. border, the southwest border from Mexico. And President Trump vowed to take several steps and to move faster than the Obama administration had done, given these staggering numbers that you just recited. He declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency, a national public health emergency, his first year in office. His Justice Department ramped up prosecutions of fentanyl-related crimes. The Customs and Border officers began training more dogs to detect fentanyl on the border. Congress required the Postal Service to start using electronic monitoring of foreign packages, something that had not been done, which is sort of shocking given all this stuff was coming from China. So he had taken several important steps and, as you said, allocated an additional $6 billion to the crisis. But my colleagues and I wanted to understand, okay, we're living in this bubble that's Washington. We're hearing all these pronouncements. What is happening on the ground? And so we got this data from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Prevention and Control and Prevention, and it showed where fentanyl was hitting the hardest. So we decided to go to some of those places and see what's happening on the ground. And it's so depressing. It's just ravaging these communities.
Yeah, and the geography is staggering. 5 counties in one state alone. What are the local health officials telling you that a solution looks like, given what you just outlined the administration is already trying to do?
Well, they need more money for drug treatment. What people on the ground say is this needs to be treated like the epidemic that it is.
So the $6 billion isn't getting there?
Well, it's not. It's not. There's a bill that's been introduced in Congress for $100 billion. I mean, people feel like this should be treated like the AIDS crisis. AIDS crisis is $28 billion a year goes toward that. And that the money being allocated is really a drop in the bucket. Then there's not an infrastructure in these rural communities. We found that there weren't enough drug treatment centers, and the ones that were there had these long waiting lists, 200 people on a waiting list. And what people told us is that when people addicted to fentanyl or heroin are ready to go into drug treatment, you have to get them in right away. You can't wait weeks, you can't wait months, because they will either not want the treatment when you come to them or they'll be dead.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.